Mark Antony asks the most beautifulest woman in the room to come to the stage. And then he says, Victoria, come to the stage. Nicola leaves the room crying her eyes out.
What is my biggest fear?
Oh, I don't know that. I don't know anyone.
You don't?
Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz have been locked in a tense feud with the Beckham family since 2022. And things just keep getting messier. While everyone tried to smile for the cameras and pretend the family drama didn't exist, Brooklyn completely lost his cool. He went on a wild 6-page Instagram story rant, calling out his own family and claiming they were trying to control him. Right after that meltdown, he and Nicola were spotted on what looked like a totally staged beach stroll, clearly trying to flip the narrative. Brooklyn even threw serious shade at his mom, saying she hijacked his first dance with Nicola by dancing too close and making the moment about herself. He went on to claim that the reason he and Nicola renewed their vows was to fix the embarrassment they supposedly felt on their wedding day. The same wedding that reportedly cost over $3 million and had 3 wedding planners quit before it even happened. But here's the kicker: a lot of Brooklyn's so-called truth bombs turned out to be straight-up lies. Remember when he said Victoria Beckham ditched Nicola's wedding dress plans at the last second, leaving her scrambling? Total nonsense. Still, other parts, like Nicola breaking down in tears during the wedding, were actually confirmed. And now, the plot thickens. The wedding's DJ and butler are spilling their own tea. Between the wild claims, the backtracked lies, Brooklyn allegedly leaking info to the press, and Nicola's shady past creeping back up, this family feud just went nuclear. So what kicked off all this chaos? The wedding. That's where everything exploded. To really get why Brooklyn went off on Instagram, you've gotta rewind to where it all began. A few years back, we even made a full video about their wedding drama. And trust me, it was packed with tension. The short version? The Beckham-Peltz feud hit its breaking point during their luxury April 2022 wedding in Palm Beach, Florida. The event went down at Nicola's billionaire father Nelson Peltz's massive oceanfront estate. And from that moment, the drama never stopped. One of the first sparks? Brooklyn and Nicola decided to merge their last names, calling themselves Nicola and Brooklyn Peltz Beckham. It was supposed to be romantic, but apparently, David and Victoria weren't impressed. They publicly congratulated them as Brooklyn and Nicola Beckham, leaving out the Peltz part completely, a subtle jab that fans didn't miss. Then came Nicola's emotional Instagram post. She wrote, "Family is everything to me," but somehow managed to crop out Brooklyn's entire side of the family. People immediately noticed, and reports started spreading that the Beckhams were totally sidelined during the whole wedding weekend. They allegedly weren't even seated at the main family table, a detail Brooklyn himself later confirmed. To make things worse, rumors flew that singer Mark Anthony called Victoria and Brooklyn up on stage for a dance, the same one that supposedly had Nicola storming off in tears. And of course, there was the whole wedding dress scandal. Victoria Beckham was supposed to design Nicola's gown, but Nicola later claimed Victoria's team just couldn't finish it in time. No feud, she said, but the tension told a different story. In her interview with Vogue, Nicola actually laughed off the idea that she and Brooklyn were trying to copy David and Victoria's iconic wedding. She called their ceremony incredible and said the photos were legendary, but claimed that the wedding that really inspired them was Iman and David Bowie's. Still, that didn't stop people from comparing, and things only got messier from there. By August 2022, Nicola was on the cover of Tatler, where she opened up about how much pressure Brooklyn supposedly feels about his career. She even revealed that Brooklyn goes to her billionaire father, Nelson Peltz, for career advice. But here's where it gets shady. During their honeymoon in the south of France, Nicola's family reportedly crashed the trip, while the Beckhams vacationed separately in Croatia. You can already see the pattern. The Beckhams left on the sidelines, while Nicola's family took center stage. The vibe was very much us versus them. And behind the scenes, the wedding chaos was just as wild. Rumors swirled that Nicola was a nightmare to work with. And honestly, the facts backed that up. Multiple wedding planners dropped out before the big day. First, legendary planner Preston Bailey, known for pulling off A-list weddings, quit just 6 weeks before the ceremony. Then, Ariana and Nicole from Planned Design Events lasted only 9 days before being cut loose. Their firing was described in court documents as a full-blown day of reckoning. Nelson Peltz even sued them for keeping the deposit, though the lawsuit quietly settled in. September 2023. After that disaster, planner Michelle Ragos finally stepped in to save the day. But when Vogue asked Nicola about it, she gave all the credit to her mom, saying, "I have to hand it to my mom. She really put this whole thing together." Luckily, we have the same taste. Despite the tension, Nicola kept insisting there was no feud. She told the Sunday Times in October 2022 that everyone was overreacting. But by then, the cracks in this family fairy tale were already showing. "I keep seeing that word everywhere. Feud, feud, feud," Nicola said in frustration during an interview. "I don't know why they say feud. Maybe they just picked up on something small and decided to label it that. No family is perfect." But while she tried to downplay it, the tension between the Beckhams and the Peltz Beckhams was only heating up. So that was the end of the wedding-era chaos. But by 2025, the drama was back and stronger than ever. It all came to a head with what fans now call the 2025 family feud. This time, things got personal. Brooklyn reportedly went on an Instagram rant so intense it felt like a cry for help. And then came the blocking spree. Insiders claimed Brooklyn started blocking certain family members and friends, while communication between him and his parents was handled strictly through lawyers. That's how deep the divide had gotten. Over the 2 years following the wedding, Brooklyn and Nicola began fading from major Beckham family milestones. They were no-shows at David Beckham's massive 50th birthday celebration in May 2025, and even skipped his early birthday party in Miami that March. Fans were quick to notice Nicola's pattern of absences, especially since she was also missing from Victoria's glamorous 50th birthday bash the year before, in April 2024. Still, Nicola tried to keep up appearances. She posted a sweet picture of the Beckham family on Instagram, captioning it, "Happy birthday to my beautiful mother-in-law at Victoria Beckham. I'm so sad I'm not there to celebrate and hug you. Sending all my love from me and my nanny. I miss you so much." But as 2025 went on, the distance between the two families became impossible to ignore. Brooklyn and Nicola skipped nearly every major event, from Victoria's Paris Fashion Week show to Romeo Beckham's 23rd birthday bash. And by April 9th, the Beckhams had stopped publicly acknowledging Brooklyn and Nicola altogether. The family's silence said everything. By the time their third wedding anniversary rolled around in late 2025, the Beckham family drama had reached a breaking point. Multiple outlets reported that Brooklyn had blocked his own parents and siblings, even his little sister Harper, who everyone agrees is completely innocent in all this. The tension was no longer a rumor. It was out in the open for everyone to see. Even after Brooklyn and Nicola skipped David's huge 50th birthday bash and didn't post a single thing about it online, David still tried to keep things peaceful. On May 5th, he shared a wholesome Instagram story from a fishing trip he'd planned months earlier for his birthday. He posed with his sons Cruz and Romeo, captioning it, "You were missed at Brooklyn Peltz Beckham." Fans thought it was a sweet olive branch, but Brooklyn didn't seem to see it that way. Just a few weeks later, on May 25th, Brooklyn posted a story of himself and Nicola cuddling with the caption, "I always choose you." To many, that felt like a direct dig at his parents. And then came the biggest statement of all. On August 2nd, Brooklyn and Nicola renewed their vows, this time without a single Beckham in attendance. Not one. By midsummer 2025, whispers started swirling that Brooklyn had actually sent a legal notice to his parents, demanding that all communication go through lawyers. A source claimed Brooklyn felt his boundaries weren't being respected, saying he believed his parents kept referencing him online instead of reaching out privately. Meanwhile, David and Victoria were reportedly heartbroken. Insiders said they were trying to understand what went wrong while still keeping the door open for their son. Here's the thing though, there's no evidence of Victoria or David ever shading Brooklyn or Nicola publicly. None. All the tension seems to be fueled by Brooklyn's claims alone. And let's be real, as we often say here at Scandalous Media, the ones making the loudest accusations, backed by shaky facts and zero proof, are usually the ones stirring the pot. But let's stay fair and stick to the receipts, because on October 8th, Brooklyn and Nicola were nowhere to be seen at the red carpet premiere of Victoria Beckham's Netflix documentary. Another Beckham milestone skipped again. By December 2025, things between the Beckhams and Brooklyn hit a brand new low. Reports started flying that David and Victoria had unfollowed their eldest son on Instagram. Just as news broke that Brooklyn planned to spend Christmas with Nicola and her billionaire parents instead of his own family. The internet went wild, until Brooklyn's younger brother Cruz decided to jump in and set the record straight. Cruz directly replied on Instagram, sharing a screenshot and writing, "Not true, my mom and dad would never unfollow their son. Let's get the facts right. They woke up blocked, as did I." That one comment alone flipped the whole story upside down. Suddenly, it looked like Brooklyn had been the one to cut off contact, not the other way around. But this wasn't the first time Brooklyn had done something dramatic online. Back in July 2025, he quietly unfollowed his brothers Romeo and Cruz just weeks after posting a sweet birthday message for his little sister Harper. He'd shared a picture of himself and Nicola posing with Harper, writing, "Happy birthday, Harper. We love you," and tagging Nicola in the caption. Fans thought things were fine between the siblings, but clearly there was tension brewing behind the scenes. At the time, rumors claimed that Brooklyn unfollowed his brothers because they were throwing shade at him. But when you look at what they actually posted, it's hard to see how that adds up. In July 2025, Romeo took to his Instagram stories to write, "Life is too short. Love who you love and tell them how much you really do. Life can flash before your eyes at any moment, but the people that truly love you and care for you will always be there. Don't hold back from love or appreciation for anything or anyone." Some outlets twisted that into a dig at Brooklyn. But context matters. The post came right after Romeo's breakup with Kim Turnbull and the heartbreaking passing of Liverpool footballer Diogo Jota and his brother. So fans believed Romeo was grieving, not shading. Then came another post that stirred even more. Talk. Romeo shared a still from the Audrey Hepburn classic Roman Holiday, featuring the quote, "What the world needs is a return to sweetness and decency." Beneath the photo, he added, "Be nice to people and don't tell unnecessary lies," followed by a kissy face emoji. Was that aimed at Brooklyn? Maybe, or maybe not. But by that point, the internet didn't care. The Beckham family's digital Cold War was out in the open, and every post was being dissected like a headline-worthy clue. In May, Cruz Beckham posted a cryptic message that had everyone talking. It read, "It takes 43 muscles in your face to frown and 17 to smile." Then he added, "Be kind and tell the truth." So, what's your verdict? Was that subtle shade, or is Brooklyn just getting triggered by everything these days? Now let's back it up for context. Rumors started flying that the tension between Romeo and Brooklyn began over, get this, a girl. People claimed that Romeo was dating one of Brooklyn's exes, Kim Turnbull. But Kim quickly shut that down, saying she had never been romantically involved with Brooklyn at all, insisting it was just a school friendship and nothing more. In April 2025, Romeo even commented on Instagram, before later deleting it, saying flat out that Brooklyn and Kim never dated. So the whole love triangle story, total nonsense. And that, right there, brings us full circle to the real issue, the feud that's torn the family apart. So, let's dive straight into Brooklyn's explosive Instagram rant, the one that had everyone talking and fact-checking his every word. Brooklyn kicked it off with a dramatic opener, posting, "I have been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that have been printed." So basically, he pulled a full-on Prince Harry move. He blamed his family for leaking stories to the press. But here's the problem. There's zero proof that David or Victoria have ever said a word publicly against him. The press talks to everyone, assistants, stylists, people in their circle, and that's how stories spread. But Brooklyn seems convinced it's all his parents doing. What makes this even messier is that, in this case, the negative comments about Brooklyn and Nicola haven't come from the Beckhams at all. They've actually stayed completely silent. Most of the shade has come from people who used to work with Nicola, like her former hairstylist, Justin Anderson. He made headlines years ago when he blasted Nicola online, calling her the worst of the worst back in 2019. Apparently, that beef started after Nicola accused him of burning her hair off during a styling session, which he totally denied. But ever since then, he's been open about how difficult she was to work with. So while Brooklyn keeps pointing fingers at his parents, the evidence says otherwise. The so-called attacks on Nicola are mostly from former staffers, not family. So as Brooklyn rants about being silenced and betrayed, it's starting to look like he might be fighting ghosts, or worse, turning his frustrations toward the wrong people. Justin Anderson didn't hold back, not even a little. He went as far as commenting under a post, saying, "Brooklyn's wife was one of the worst celebs I've ever worked with. It's her, 100%. She's a bad apple." And even dropped a red flag emoji to drive the point home. Everyone knows how tight-knit the Beckham family is. So seeing someone outside their circle go this hard on Nicola, that definitely raised eyebrows. Then Justin hit Nicola right where it stings, her fame. He basically said she might have billionaire parents, but she's not a real star. Responding to claims that he was just chasing attention, Justin clapped back with, "If I wanted attention, I'd talk about really big people, you know." Ouch! That one line had fans buzzing. And he didn't stop there. He doubled down on his earlier claims, sinos or awaisim, saying, "She's not nice. I can say that with my full chest. Not good energy." He even threw shade at Nicola's wedding drama, adding, "Based on how many wedding planners she went through, I think she's the issue." On his Instagram story, he kept the jabs coming, writing, "I thought she wasn't even relevant anymore when I mentioned her. But then she married into a very famous family." Justin explained that when he saw Nicola was marrying Brooklyn, he literally thought, "Oh gosh, this is not gonna be good for that family. Spooky energy." And then he twisted the knife with one last punch. I don't even feel bad saying that. When someone's not nice, it always comes out. You can't hide that. Back in 2019, Justin even went on a podcast where he branded Nicola a total diva and swore he'd never work with her again. And keep in mind, this guy has worked with major stars like Miley Cyrus, Jennifer Aniston, and Katy Perry. So for him to single out Nicola like that, it speaks volumes. But Justin isn't the only one chiming in on the Beckham Peltz chaos. Alana Hadid, yes, the sister of Anwar Hadid, also weighed in. Someone commented about Brooklyn's rant saying, "An 8-paragraph post airing out your family's dirty laundry followed by 'We just want privacy' tells me everything I need to know." And Alana replied, "Right? And that girl doesn't want privacy. She's been trying to be famous for a decade." Followed by 4 laughing emojis. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Alana knows Nicola personally. Her brother Anwar dated Nicola from 2016 to 2018. When Nicola was 22 and Anwar was 17. Their relationship reportedly ended because of tension between Nicola and the Hadid family, especially Anwar's mom, Yolanda Hadid. So when Alana threw that shade, it didn't come from nowhere. It came with history. Between Justin's unapologetic dragging and Alana's subtle but deadly comments, it seems like Brooklyn and Nicola's feud with the Beckhams has reignited a whole list of old flames and old enemies, ready to spill even more tea. So, what's really going on with Brooklyn right now? Let's start with his mom, because this is where things get deep. Sources close to the situation claim that back when Nicola was dating Anwar Hadid, she allegedly used the Hadid family name to boost her own image. At the time, Gigi and Bella Hadid were everywhere, the most in-demand models in the world. And apparently, Nicola loved being associated with that fame. But not even a year later, her relationship with Anwar completely fell apart. After the split, she unfollowed the entire Hadid clan on Instagram, and insiders claimed that Nicola had been controlling during the relationship. It even got so bad that Yolanda Hadid supposedly tried to stage an intervention to make Anwar see the light. Now, I've been in the celebrity gossip game for 13 years. And believe me when I say Nicola has one of the worst reputations in Hollywood. I've been hearing negative whispers about her for years. Back in 2018, when someone asked me to expose Nicola, I literally said, "Can't stand her. She's vile, but yeah, really pretty." Then in 2019, I said it again. Ugh, she's horrible. So Brooklyn, if you're watching, your parents aren't the ones bad-mouthing her in the press. The truth is, everyone else already is. And speaking of talking to the press, I've actually got proof that Brooklyn's been the one spilling info to the media about his own family. So stay tuned, because this gets even more chaotic. In his Instagram rant, Brooklyn declared, "I don't want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life." But here's the thing. If you have to say you're not being controlled, that kind of says it all, doesn't it? The timing made it clear that Brooklyn was reacting to the growing public opinion that Nicola has him wrapped around her finger. That rumor's been floating around for ages. People saying Nicola prefers dating younger guys because they're easier to influence. And considering Nicola's 31 while Brooklyn's 26, turning 27 soon, fans didn't exactly find his statement convincing. The way Brooklyn worded everything made him sound like some kind of misunderstood victim. And honestly, that turned a lot of people off, especially since we all know he's had a very privileged life. His parents have supported every one of his ventures, from photography to his chef era, where he gave us those painfully mid-cooking tutorials and out-of-focus food photos. Then Brooklyn took his rant even further, saying, "For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. The performative social media posts, family events, and inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of the life I was born into." He wasn't done yet. He added, "Recently, I've seen with my own eyes the lengths they'll go to place countless lies in the media, mostly at the expense of innocent people, just to preserve their own facade. But I believe the truth always comes out." Now that's a serious accusation. Claiming your parents have been manipulating the press your whole life. That's not a small thing to say. But the irony is, there's no real evidence of David or Victoria doing anything of the sort. They've stayed quiet, calm, and classy through all of this. Meanwhile, Brooklyn's the one ranting online, burning bridges, and playing the victim card while his parents keep their heads high. So when you line everything up, the Hadid, fallout, the old Hollywood tea, and Brooklyn's latest self-pity tour, it's starting to look less like a family feud and more like a full-blown self-inflicted PR disaster. Brooklyn kept ranting, but here's the problem. He never actually backed anything up. He didn't offer a single example or piece of proof for these so-called countless lies in the media. And unfortunately for him, the truth did come out, and it wasn't on his side. He claimed, "My parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding, and it hasn't stopped. My mom canceled making Nicola's dress at the 11th hour, despite how excited she was to wear it, forcing her to urgently find a new dress. But before throwing out a statement that bold, maybe he should have checked that British Vogue literally covered the entire wedding, and that Nicola herself had already contradicted that story." Brooklyn tried to paint it like Nicola was scrambling for a last-minute wedding gown, but the Vogue article says the total opposite. According to them, Nicola's custom Valentino couture look was a year in the making. It was designed through months of conversations with Valentino creative director Pier Paolo Piccioli's team, involved 2 separate trips to Rome, and even included 2 US fittings. The head seamstress personally flew to Miami to make sure every last detail was flawless. On the big day, Vogue called it the ultimate couture experience. So yeah, that whole "my mom bailed at the last minute" story doesn't really hold up. And even Nicola herself publicly denied any feud at the time. In October 2022, she told Grazia and other outlets, "I think it all started, and I've said this before, because I didn't end up wearing Victoria's wedding dress. But the real truth is, I really, really wanted to wear it. I thought it was so beautiful that Brooklyn's mom wanted to make that for me." She even explained that Victoria called her mom personally and said her atelier couldn't finish the dress in time. Nicola added that the feud rumors were ridiculous. So clearly there was communication and no sign of sabotage. Now, is it possible that Victoria chose not to make the dress for personal reasons? Sure. But that doesn't mean she tried to humiliate Nicola. If anything, it sounds like Victoria handled it professionally and let her know in advance. While Nicola already had another couture gown being designed months before. But Brooklyn didn't stop there. He went on to make an even bigger accusation, claiming that just weeks before the wedding, his parents pressured and attempted to bribe him into signing away the rights to his own name. He said it would have affected him, his wife, and even their future children. That's a massive claim. And again, he gave no evidence at all. The Beckhams have never commented publicly on this supposed bribe. And honestly, it doesn't even make sense. Brooklyn has built his career off his famous last name. Cooking shows, brand deals, even his photography. All of it relies on being a Beckham. So why would his parents risk that? In the end, Brooklyn's story just doesn't add up. Between Vogue's receipts, Nicola's own statements, and his total lack of proof, it's starting to look like his tell-all rant was less about truth and more about rewriting history. Brooklyn continued, saying, "They were adamant about me signing before my wedding date, because once I did, the terms of the deal would be initiated. My holdout affected their payday, and they've never treated me the same since." But here's the thing, he's being vague on purpose. Brooklyn keeps using heavy words like bribed and signing away my name, but he never actually explains what the deal was. No contracts, no receipts, no real details. He's clearly using loaded language to paint himself as the victim and his parents as manipulative villains. It's a calculated move to win public sympathy without offering any proof. And let's be honest, the whole bribery claim doesn't really hold water. What if this supposed contract was just a normal branding or management agreement, something that every public figure in the Beckham orbit deals with, and something Brooklyn has benefited from his entire life? If it was truly a shady or dangerous deal, why not show it? Or at least explain the terms clearly? Saying, "They tried to make me sign away my name," sounds dramatic, but vague enough to stir outrage without any facts. It's also pretty clear that this all ties back to Brooklyn's push to merge his name with Nicola's, calling himself Brooklyn Peltz Beckham. Obviously, his parents, who built a billion-dollar global brand around the Beckham name, would have opinions about that. You can't really blame them for being protective of the empire they created, especially when their son is attaching it to the Peltz family's PR-heavy image. And let's not forget, Nicola herself has been surrounded by rumors for years. There were even old claims that she allegedly pushed her nanny down the stairs, something her family strongly denied. But considering how often drama seems to follow her, it's hard to believe she's not playing a major role behind the scenes in this entire Beckham expose. Brooklyn's acting like the rebel truth teller, but the narrative feels carefully curated. And it's not just his voice guiding it. Honestly, if David and Victoria really did try to manage his brand, that's not evil. That's business. Brooklyn has built his lifestyle off their legacy. The name, the opportunities, the attention. And now he's turning around and acting like he's been wronged for it. Let's be real. If his parents ever cut him off and told him to go make it on his own, he'd probably be online crying that they abandoned him. Then came the part of his rant that really made people's jaws drop. Brooklyn said, "During the wedding planning, my mom went so far as to call me evil because Nicola and I chose to include my nanny Sandra and Nicola's nanny at our table, since they both didn't have their husbands. Both of our parents had their own tables equally adjacent to ours. But come on, Imagine being the parents of the groom and not being allowed to sit at the main family table, all because your son insisted on seating his nanny and his wife's grandmother there instead. That's not evil, that's awkward and disrespectful, especially when reports say Nicola's side had multiple family members sitting at that same table while the Beckhams were moved aside. This detail actually matches earlier reports from 2022, where insiders said the Beckhams were excluded from the main table altogether. The optics alone are wild. Nicola's family front and center, the Beckhams politely sidelined, and Brooklyn acting like it's no big deal. So no, this doesn't look like the work of Brooklyn alone. The tone, the wording, the strategic victim card, it all screams influence. There's a very specific PR flavor to this family tell-all, and it's not coming from the Beckham side. And when you look at everything together, the table drama, the dress fiasco, the constant contradictions, it starts to feel less like random wedding chaos and more like a calculated plan to push the Beckhams out completely. It's like someone wanted to rewrite the narrative and center the Peltz family instead. And that's probably why this next part of Brooklyn's rant hit such a nerve. He wrote, "The night before our wedding, members of my family told me that Nicola was not blood and not family. Since the moment I started standing up for myself with my family, I've received endless attacks from my parents, both privately and publicly, that were sent to the press on their orders." At this point, Brooklyn sounds more and more like Prince Harry 2.0. The dramatic claims, the "I'm standing up for myself" talk, and the constant blaming of the press, it's all following the same pattern. But as we've already established, there's zero evidence that anything negative about Brooklyn or Nicola ever came directly from the Beckham circle. Like I've said for years on my blog, Nicola's reputation in Hollywood has always been rocky, and it's likely she's the one in his ear. If you actually trace the so-called anti-Nicola stories back to their sources, they almost always come from outsiders, people who've worked with her or dealt with her personally. Hairstylists, planners, assistants, not David or Victoria. So this idea that his own parents are feeding the press just doesn't hold up, and the timing makes his story even weaker. Because in the years after the wedding, both Victoria and Nicola went out of their way to show the world how close they supposedly were. They danced together at parties, praised each other in interviews, and posted glowing tributes online. All those family love posts directly contradict Brooklyn's claim of a long-running feud. If anything, it makes everyone look a bit fake. Because if it was all for show, that means Brooklyn and Nicola were willingly participating in the same PR machine he's now accusing his family of running. You can't call your parents manipulative when you've been smiling for the cameras right alongside them. Even Preston Bailey, the original wedding planner before everything went sideways, said he never saw anything toxic between the Beckhams and the Peltz family during the lead up to the wedding. In fact, he told reporters, if there was tension behind the scenes, you'd never know it during the planning. Everyone was polite and professional. So clearly, no one from the Beckham side was bad-mouthing Nicola or leaking private drama back then. Preston even admitted that Brooklyn's recent behavior shocked him, saying, "It surprises me that he's taking this stand against his parents. That's not the Brooklyn I met. He was a nice, gentle guy. The kind of person who would say hello and chit-chat." And that's what's so wild about this whole situation. The Brooklyn Preston knew sounds like a down-to-earth son from a close family, not the version we're seeing now. The one that's angry, defensive, and constantly accusing his parents of betrayal. It's like we're watching two completely different people. So when you put all the pieces together, the exaggerated claims, the lack of evidence, and Nicola's ongoing reputation issues, it's hard to believe this feud is truly about control or freedom. It's starting to look like a full-blown PR war that's being steered by someone who knows exactly how to play the sympathy card. And Brooklyn's right in the middle of it. Brooklyn wrapped up his rant by saying he just wants privacy, which is hilarious, considering he just aired out every piece of his family's dirty laundry for the world to see. It's like he borrowed Harry and Meghan's entire PR playbook and tried to outdo them in a single weekend. Then he dropped another dramatic line. Even my brothers were sent to attack me on social media before they ultimately blocked me out of nowhere this summer. But hold on, the receipts don't match. Cruz actually called Brooklyn out first, saying that it was Brooklyn who blocked the entire family. So which version is it? Because someone's definitely rewriting history here. And that brings us to what fans are now calling the first dance debacle. Brooklyn claimed he has scathing proof that his parents were behind a media smear campaign, but what he actually revealed says more about him and Nicola than it does about David or Victoria. Here's what Brooklyn wrote. My mom hijacked my first dance with my wife, which had been planned weeks in advance to a romantic love song in front of our 500 wedding guests. Mark Anthony called me to the stage for our planned first dance, but instead, my mom was waiting to dance with me. She danced very inappropriately on me in front of everyone. I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my entire life. That statement shocked everyone, and for good reason. There are 3 major problems with it. First, it's a straight-up contradiction to what Vogue and multiple eyewitnesses reported from the wedding. Vogue covered every detail, from Nicola's Valentino dress to Mark Anthony's surprise performance, and not once did anyone mention a hijacked dance. If anything, the first dance between Brooklyn and Nicola was one of the event's emotional highlights, cheered on by their 500 guests. Second, accusing your own mother of dancing inappropriately with you at your wedding is outrageous, especially when you finish your statement saying how humiliated you felt. Because imagine how Victoria must have felt having her son publicly accuse her of something like that. It's a cruel and unnecessary jab, and it completely crossed the line from family drama into public character assassination. Third, this story isn't new at all. In fact, it's the exact same story that was first leaked to People magazine 8 months earlier. Word for word. Back in May 2025, People ran a piece quoting a source close to Brooklyn and Nicola, claiming the couple was hurt because Victoria hijacked the dance. The article even mentioned that Mark Anthony, a close Beckham family friend, had offered to perform as a gift at the wedding. So let's connect the dots. What are the odds that 2 identical stories with the same details just happened to appear months apart? First in a magazine, and then again straight from Brooklyn's mouth. Pretty slim. It's far more likely that Brooklyn and Nicola themselves were the source of the leak in 2025. And when no one really cared, Brooklyn recycled it in his so-called truth-telling rant. And honestly, the irony here is painful. Brooklyn is accusing his family of planting fake stories in the press. Yet the only proven case of that happening seems to come from him and Nicola. They're out here feeding tabloids the same gossip they're pretending to be victims of. Meanwhile, fans online are now reanalyzing every video of Victoria Beckham ever dancing, just because of Brooklyn's wild claim. People are pulling old clips of her dancing at fashion events, with Nicola, even with Brooklyn himself, all trying to decode whether she really did anything inappropriate. It's gotten completely absurd. This first dance story has officially gone from emotional confession to full-on tabloid theater. And the worst part is, it's dragging the entire family name through the mud. Brooklyn wanted privacy, but instead, he handed the world front row seats to his family fallout. Before the music even started, Mark Anthony reportedly called Brooklyn to the stage and said, "The most beautiful woman in the room tonight. Come on up, Victoria Beckham." That's the exact moment Brooklyn later twisted into his "my mom hijacked our first dance" story. But here's the kicker. This same exact narrative and wording didn't just appear out of nowhere in January 2026. It was already published in People magazine 8 months earlier, in May 2025, right when Brooklyn was publicly pulling away from his family. The timing and phrasing are identical, even down to the word hijacked. So, are we really supposed to believe that some random anonymous source just happened to use the same phrasing by coincidence? Or is it far more likely that Brooklyn and Nicola fed the story themselves to people at the height of the feud, when no one cared, and are now recycling it as a fresh bombshell for attention? Let's be real, the odds of that wording being identical are almost zero, and it gets even more ironic. Right after that People article dropped, Nicola posted an Instagram story saying, "I would choose my mom to be my mom in every lifetime again and again and again." Sweet on the surface, sure, but the timing made everyone think it was a direct response to the reports about Victoria stealing the spotlight. Even the media picked up on it, spinning it as subtle shade toward Brooklyn's mom. So while she's pretending to stay classy, that post was absolutely part of the narrative game. But here's the thing that completely blows Brooklyn's story apart. He and Nicola did have their first dance, and it wasn't with Victoria at all. The couple's first dance was to Elvis Presley's "Can't Help Falling in Love," performed live by singer Loiso. The moment was documented by Vogue and captured in dozens of professional photos. You can literally see them dancing together. So why lie? If there are receipts showing that you and your wife already had your first dance, then claiming your mother hijacked it is more than just exaggerated. It's malicious. And to make it worse, Brooklyn completely misrepresented the timeline. He made it sound like Marc Anthony interrupted their romantic moment in the middle of the reception, when, in reality, Vogue describes the Marc Anthony performance as part of the after-party. At 11 p.m., the circular stage rotated 180 degrees, revealing Marc Anthony for a surprise live set. That's when Brooklyn invited his mother on stage to dance. He invited her. They were even joined by David Beckham and their daughter Harper. Everyone was already on the dance floor celebrating. It wasn't some private, stolen moment at all. Now, let's pause and think about this. Vogue's coverage isn't gossip. It's meticulously planned, coordinated, and pre-approved by everyone involved, especially the couple. Nothing in that feature goes out without their sign-off. So if Brooklyn is now claiming that his mother embarrassed him or hijacked anything, how does that line up with an official, heavily vetted report saying he invited her to the stage? If he truly felt humiliated, why approve a global magazine feature describing the moment as wholesome and joyful? Either he didn't read it, or he did, and didn't have an issue with it until it became useful for his new victim narrative. What's really wild is how transparent this all looks when you piece it together. The timing, the word-for-word leak, the exaggerated emotion, the Instagram subtweet from Nicola, and now Brooklyn's repackaging of an old debunked rumor as proof his parents wronged him. It's like he's trying to rewrite history but forgot that Vogue literally published the receipts. So unless Brooklyn's arguing that Vogue, a publication known for fact-checking every detail of celebrity weddings, somehow made up an entire paragraph describing him inviting his mom to dance, it's clear the story doesn't hold. The so-called dance hijack wasn't a humiliation. It was a sweet family moment he's now weaponizing for sympathy. And the saddest part? His own words, photos, and timeline prove him wrong. I'll admit, it was awkward for Marc Anthony to call Victoria the most beautiful woman in the room when the bride was right there. I get why Nicola and Brooklyn felt uncomfortable, though it's likely Marc said it without thinking, just caught up in the moment. To be fair, let's look at it from Brooklyn and Nicola's side. Remember that People magazine story? Their source claimed Nicola felt Victoria ruined her wedding and couldn't understand why she'd do that. Another insider said the whole room went silent when Marc called out Victoria's name instead of Nicola's, that it was such a jaw-dropping moment. You could hear a pin drop. Then, when Victoria started slow dancing with Brooklyn, the same source said it wasn't appropriate and that Nicola ran off crying. They even suggested Victoria did it on purpose, knowing the romantic dance was supposed to be for the couple. But a different source told a completely different version. According to them, Nicola and Brooklyn already had their formal first dance early in the night. Plus, Nicola shared a father-daughter dance with her dad. The whole Marc Anthony segment came much later, when the vibe was casual and the dance floor was open to everyone. They said Marc's live performance got the crowd hyped. Victoria danced with Brooklyn, David danced with Harper, and everyone had fun. So what's the truth? The DJ at the wedding cleared things up. He said the inappropriate moment was really just a cultural misunderstanding. The Beckhams are a lively, dance-loving family, and their energy may have felt a little much to others. He added that while some guests didn't think anything was wrong, Brooklyn clearly did. And that's what stuck with him.
And then they do this dance, and Mark Antony's like, go, put your hands on your mother's hips. And it was a Latin, it's a Latin thing. And the whole situation was really awkward for everyone in the room.
The DJ explained it was all spontaneous, not planned, not malicious, just a spur-of-the-moment family dance that somehow spiraled into tabloid chaos. So depending on which version you believe, it was either a motherly dance misread as disrespect, or another case of Brooklyn and Nicola turning something innocent into a headline. According to the wedding's butler, Nicola completely broke down when Mark Anthony called Victoria the most beautiful woman in the room. He said that was the final straw for her. But he also made it clear, blaming Victoria for twerking or stealing attention is way off. The real issue, he said, was Nicola's overreaction. The butler described how Nicola saw the comment as an attack and melted down, while Victoria got unfairly painted as the villain. Renai, his words, Nicola behaved like a brat. She totally overreacted to the idea of being upstaged at her own wedding. After that, Nicola reportedly gave Brooklyn an ultimatum. You need to choose me or your mother. He added that Brooklyn didn't defend his mom. He just gave in. And according to him, that's the root of the family fallout. Nicola supposedly told Brooklyn she didn't want to be around David or Victoria at all and said, you have a choice to make, me or her. It's harsh, but it lines up with how things have played out ever since. And honestly, I agree with the butler's take. It's hard to imagine Victoria plotting some secret moment with Mark Anthony just to humiliate Nicola. It feels more like Nicola was triggered by the Beckhams in general, the fame, the polish, the spotlight, and turned every little thing into an attack. Mark Anthony, meanwhile, is Victoria's longtime friend and an older performer who probably just didn't read the room. It was late in the night. The after party was in full swing, and he wanted everyone to get up, drink, and dance. Sure, calling Victoria the most beautiful woman in the room was unnecessary, but it didn't deserve full tears and drama. And for Brooklyn to now use that moment as proof that his mother ruined his wedding? Come on. By every reliable account, the formal dances were long over. The vibe was casual, and people were just having fun. If that brief moment really haunted him enough to say he and Nicola renewed their vows just to create new memories, then that says more about their relationship than it does about Victoria. Honestly, it sounds like Brooklyn's just upset his mom had too much rhythm. Because from every angle, this looks like an overblown misunderstanding turned into a full-blown family war. Brooklyn said he wanted joy and happiness, not anxiety and embarrassment, but honestly, he helped create the drama he's crying about. He cut his family out of the wedding table, gave Nicola's side the spotlight, and later held a vow renewal where only her family was front and center. Her billionaire dad even officiated, and she wore a redesigned version of her mom's wedding gown. Yet somehow, he's still upset about a dance that happened hours after the main event, when everyone was supposed to be relaxed and celebrating. Then, just to top it off, Brooklyn ran to People magazine with an exclusive about how he could renew his vows every single day with Nicola. So clearly, he's fine talking to the press, as long as he's the one controlling the story. But when the Beckhams publicly support each other, suddenly, that's manipulative or fake. It's obvious, Brooklyn loves attention, but only when it makes him look like the victim. He's built this whole narrative where he's the misunderstood son, while painting his parents as cold and controlling. But the facts tell a different story. After everything, lying about his mom, canceling Nicola's wedding dress, accusing her of hijacking his dance, blocking his entire family, and excluding them from his vow renewal, now he's claiming Nicola is the one being disrespected. Brooklyn wrote, "My wife has been consistently disrespected by my family. No matter how hard we've tried to come together as one, my mom has repeatedly invited women from my past into our lives to make us uncomfortable. But if we're talking about awkward, the only person stirring tension seemed to be Selena Gomez. Remember the throuple moment? Selena was constantly around them, calling Brooklyn her husband, joking that he only cooks when she's not around, and even going on one-on-one outings with him. Fans instantly noticed the weird vibe. And guess what? That whole dynamic supposedly led to the collapse of Selena and Nicola's friendship. Things got so bad that when Selena married Benny Blanco, neither Nicola nor Brooklyn were invited. So if anyone was making people uncomfortable, it clearly wasn't Victoria. It was the chaos surrounding Brooklyn and the company he keeps. At this point, the pattern is crystal clear. Brooklyn starts the drama, blames his family, plays the victim, and then pretends it's all about protecting Nicola. Meanwhile, he's the one turning private family moments into global headlines. After things went south, Nicola wiped most of her photos with Selena and posted, "Some friendships come with expiration dates." So while she's busy throwing shade online, Brooklyn clearly has bigger issues than his mom allegedly mentioning old flames, especially since he was recently spotted cozying up with one of his former celebrity crushes. Then Brooklyn claimed he'd faced so much oppression from his family, but still made the effort to fly to London for his dad's birthday, only to be rejected. He said, "We waited in a hotel for a week, trying to plan quality time with him. He refused all our attempts unless it was for his big birthday party, surrounded by cameras and hundreds of guests." Really? The story sounds hard to believe. The idea that David Beckham, who's known for being a hands-on dad, would refuse to see his son. Unless there were cameras rolling feels like pure dramatics. Brooklyn keeps trying to frame his family as fame-obsessed when, honestly, that kind of attention is exactly what Nicola's been chasing her entire life. Sure, she's from a billionaire family, but money isn't fame, and in Hollywood, fame is currency. A showbiz insider told the Daily Mail, "With Nicola, it's all about the name. The name is the aim of the game. The Beckhams might not be as rich as the Peltzes, but their name opens doors. The Peltz name doesn't. Let's be real. Would anyone even know who Nicola is if she hadn't married Brooklyn?" Meanwhile, a source told Entertainment Tonight that Nicola is grateful Brooklyn finally defended her publicly, and that her family has basically adopted him. One insider even said he feels like he's not even a Beckham anymore. An adopted husband? That's one way to put it. Then Brooklyn added another jab. "When my dad finally agreed to see me, it was under the condition that Nicola wasn't invited. It was a slap in the face. Later, when my family came to LA, they refused to see me at all." But come on, if his family really put up with Nicola for years after the wedding, sitting through all the awkward dinners, the staged photos, and the cold shoulder moments, what suddenly changed? Maybe they just got tired of the drama. Maybe the Beckhams finally realized that every time they try to reconnect, it turns into another headline or another Instagram sob story. At this point, it's starting to look like Brooklyn isn't being iced out. He's burning bridges himself and blaming everyone else when the smoke starts rising. There's definitely something Brooklyn isn't saying, and the whole thing feels way too familiar. Just like with Harry and Meghan, whenever the family draws boundaries, it's because they're tired of lies being spread behind the scenes. With Harry, we saw how that turned into Netflix episodes, tell-all books, and leaked texts. And now, Brooklyn's following the same playbook. So, what did Nicola do to make an entire family, one that supported her from day one, even when she excluded them from the wedding and honeymoon? Finally decide they don't want her around? If the Beckhams were truly toxic, wouldn't Brooklyn have cut ties long before all this? The timing just doesn't add up. He has to know how people will see it. And yes, most will point the finger at Nicola. Because let's be honest, she's not the one losing anyone here. Her family's always been right by her side, while the Beckhams keep getting pushed further away. Nicola's gained everything: attention, exposure, and control, without giving up a single thing. Then Brooklyn tried to hit back with this line: "My family values public promotion and endorsements above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family love is measured by how much you post or how fast you show up for a photo op, even at the expense of your professional obligations." It's a dramatic accusation, but it also exposes how little he understands about his own privilege. Because Brand Beckham is literally the reason he even has professional obligations. His cooking career, his photography gigs, every sponsorship he's landed, all built on the visibility that his parents' empire gave him. So when he complains that family events interfere with his career, he's ignoring the truth. His career exists because of that brand. Without it, there's no press coverage, no invitations, no deals. The same Beckham name he's tearing down is the one that built his entire platform. At the end of the day, it doesn't sound like a family refusing love. It sounds like a family drawing lines after years of being used for headlines. Brooklyn's blaming the machine that made him, while Nicola keeps reaping the rewards. What's honestly wild is how hard Nicola and Brooklyn have tried to turn their relationship into a brand, and how completely it's flopped. The only time people even pay attention is when Brooklyn drags his family into the mess and plays the misunderstood son. Without the Beckham name or the drama, no one really cares. I've watched it happen for years, and the truth is simple. The public just isn't buying it. Take a look at their social media. The numbers speak for themselves. The cooking videos, couple shoots, artsy photo dumps, they all flop unless there's controversy involved. Engagement only spikes when the family feud gets mentioned. 2025 made that crystal clear. The second the feud became public, interest shot up. Then, desperate for relevance, Nicola and Brooklyn dropped a how he proposed video years after the engagement, and it screamed staged. It wasn't storytelling, it was begging the internet to care. They even held a literal funeral for Nicola's pet chihuahua. Now, losing a pet is heartbreaking, sure, but posing next to a casket for a photo? That's not mourning, that's marketing. Nicola even sued the dog's groomer for animal abuse, claiming they caused the death. It was another headline moment that made people cringe more than sympathize. And yet, Brooklyn still complains that his family only shows up for Brand Beckham. He said, every fashion show, every party, every press event, they're there for the cameras to prove we're a perfect family. But the one time my wife asked for my mom's support to save displaced dogs during the LA fires, my mom refused. Come on. He's acting like Victoria ignoring a charity post is proof. She doesn't care. When, in reality, the woman runs a fashion empire and global brand. She's not ghosting him out of spite, she's just busy. Meanwhile, Brooklyn's posting cooking clips that barely reach anyone and blaming his parents for not boosting his engagement. If we're being honest, he's not mad about a lack of support. He's mad that the Beckhams don't need the spotlight to stay relevant, while he and Nicola only trend when there's chaos. They've turned oversharing into a career strategy, but the public sees through it. Without the Beckham connection, they'd just be another influencer couple trying too hard to matter. Brooklyn acted like Victoria, skipping one event was some moral crime, when in reality, she's a grown woman with her own career and packed schedule. Instead of just saying, my mom couldn't make it, and that hurt, he spun it into a wild theory about Brand Beckham versus real love. We don't even know her side. Maybe she had something important to do. Or maybe she didn't want to turn a tragedy like the LA fires into a PR moment. Remember, celebrities got roasted during those fires for performative photo ops. Even Harry and Meghan learned that lesson the hard way. It's also very possible that David and Victoria chose to help privately through donations. They've always supported real causes, mostly in the UK, and have a long history of philanthropy. They don't need to show up on camera to prove they care. And honestly, what business would they have centering themselves in an LA disaster just to satisfy someone else's optics? Then, almost like clockwork, a week after Brooklyn's rant, he and Nicola posted pictures rescuing a puppy. The timing was too convenient. It didn't feel like charity. It felt like damage control. Like they were trying to say, look, we're the good ones. We save puppies, while painting Victoria as heartless for attending Fashion Week. After being slammed for his meltdown, Brooklyn doubled down. He wrote, the idea that my wife controls me is backwards. I've been controlled by my parents my entire life. I grew up with overwhelming anxiety, but since stepping away, that anxiety has disappeared. Really? Because most people would have more anxiety after publicly dragging their entire family for 6 pages. And let's be honest, this man's been married for nearly 4 years. He hasn't lived at home for ages, so blaming his parents for his emotional state now just sounds unhinged. He ended his rant with, "I wake up every morning grateful for the life I chose. I found peace and relief." But no one who's truly at peace posts a long emotional manifesto accusing their own family of betrayal. It's clear he's not healing. He's still performing. Brooklyn's not fighting for freedom. He's fighting for relevance. Brooklyn ended his 6-page rant by saying, "My wife and I don't want a life shaped by image, oppression, or manipulation. All we want is peace, privacy, and happiness for our future family." Let's be real. That's hilarious. You can't post a full-blown expose about your parents, drag them through the mud, and then end it with, "We want privacy." It's pure comedy. This whole spectacle has brought more attention and chaos to him and Nicola than silence ever would have. So no, they don't want privacy. They want the spotlight, even if it comes from scandal. Brooklyn's little brother Cruz even joined the conversation. Briefly, he posted a TikTok captioned, "Imagine hating," showing that the rest of the family is basically unbothered. Meanwhile, Victoria Beckham's old single, Not Such an Innocent Girl, suddenly shot up to #1 on the UK iTunes chart. The irony couldn't have been better timed. Then David subtly responded during an interview on CNBC's Squawk Box, saying he's always tried to teach his kids how to use social media responsibly. He added, "Kids are allowed to make mistakes. That's how they learn. You just have to let them make those mistakes sometimes." Classy, calm, and perfectly on brand. The total opposite of Brooklyn's meltdown. And right after that, Brooklyn and Nicola went for a staged paparazzi stroll on an empty beach, smiling, laughing, and looking so in love. Nothing screams privacy like a perfectly timed photo op in designer swimwear. But here's the kicker. Brooklyn reportedly signed a prenup back in 2022. So if things ever go south, he won't see a cent of the Peltz family's billions. He's basically out here risking everything. His family, his reputation, and his peace. For someone who's already protected by ironclad paperwork. At this point, even if Brooklyn wanted to go back, it'd be tough. The Beckhams have every reason to keep their distance. He's damaged their image, aired private family business, and made their name part of a soap opera. And let's be honest, his personal brand doesn't exactly have much going for it anymore. So while Brooklyn plays the victim and poses for paparazzi pretending life is perfect, his parents are probably thinking what everyone else is. You did this to yourself. It's honestly kind of alarming. What do Brooklyn and Nicola even offer besides drama? Nicola's supposed to be an actress, but her first major project in 4 years was her self-written, self-directed indie film Lola James. The problem? It bombed hard. The movie only made $648 at the box office. Lola James tells the story of an exotic dancer struggling with addiction and poverty, but critics weren't impressed. The Guardian slammed it as poverty porn, saying the film exploits hardship instead of exploring it. They even pointed out how tone-deaf it felt for someone like Nicola, who grew up in unimaginable luxury, to make a movie romanticizing struggle. Even with her family, Elon, Musk, and former bestie Selena Gomez showing up for support, the project was a disaster. Before Lola, her last on-screen role was a 1-minute cameo in the rom-com Holiday. So at this point, Nicola's biggest claim to fame isn't her acting. It's being Brooklyn Beckham's wife. And Brooklyn? Well, he's famous for failing upwards. He started a photography degree at Parsons School of Design in New York back in 2017, but didn't even finish his first year before dropping out. That same year, he somehow released a photography book called What I See, and the reviews were brutal. One shot showed an elephant captioned, "Elephants in Kenya." So hard to photograph, but incredible to see. The image? Blurry and poorly lit. Another photo of a man smoking read, "Smoking is bad, but I love how the light illuminates his hands and face." And then there's the classic, dinner. I like this picture. It's out of focus, but you can tell there's a lot going on. Translation, there's nothing going on. the photos looked like random iPhone shots, grainy and dark, like something you'd scroll past on Pinterest without saving. Still, his parents helped fund and promote a full exhibition in London that same year. Vogue even called it an impressive accomplishment for an 18-year-old who had just picked up a camera. Let's be honest, if his last name weren't Beckham, that gallery wouldn't have happened. Between Nicola's flopped film and Brooklyn's failed art projects, it's clear neither of them has carved out real success on their own. They're living off the Beckham legacy and the Peltz billions, and without that, there's just not much left to talk about. Most of the photos in Brooklyn's book were of his own family, the same people he now blames for giving him anxiety. Back then, critics tore the project apart, forcing his publisher to defend him by saying, "What I see is a book for teenagers, by a teenager." That didn't help much. The backlash was so intense that Brooklyn eventually ditched photography altogether and decided to become, of all things, a chef. In 2022, he launched his online show Cooking with Brooklyn, which was supposed to showcase his culinary talent. Instead, it became a meme. Reports said each episode required 62 professionals and cost around $100,000 to produce. And still, Brooklyn barely did any actual cooking. Despite having no professional training, he somehow landed a segment on the Today Show where he proudly presented a bacon, sausage, and egg sandwich on untoasted bread. That's right, his big recipe was breakfast. Just an egg sandwich. You could practically see the hosts forcing their smiles, pretending to be impressed because, well, he's a Beckham. No other beginner could land national TV time for frying an egg unless they were a full-blown Nepo baby. And the problem isn't just that he's privileged, it's that he's bad at what he does. There's a clip of him pulling out a blowtorch to toast bread that was already toasted. Viewers couldn't stop laughing. Then, when influencer Daniel Mack spotted him driving a $1.2 million McLaren and asked what he does for a living, Brooklyn replied that he's a chef, self-made apparently. When asked for advice for aspiring cooks, his response was awkwardly vague, because, truthfully, he's never had to grind or learn under pressure. That's the real issue. It's not that he's talentless, it's that privilege kept him from ever needing to develop one. Brooklyn's entire career has been built on opportunity, not skill. And the more he tries to prove himself, the more obvious that becomes. That's the problem with so many Nepo babies. They mistake privilege for pain. They struggle to connect with anyone because their hardships are built out of comfort, not survival. Brooklyn and Nicola's drama isn't about real suffering. It's not war, poverty, or loss. It's a wedding dress disagreement and a typical family clash that most people handle privately, not on Instagram for millions to see. Weddings are stressful, sure. Money, pressure, and family expectations always clash. But this situation wasn't about sacrifice. It was about perfection. The wedding was still a multi-million-dollar event, dripping in luxury. Yet because it didn't play out exactly as planned, it's now being spun as emotional trauma. When you've never faced real hardship, even the smallest pushback can feel unbearable. If you're not used to people setting limits, boundaries suddenly feel cruel. That's what seems to be happening with Brooklyn. The moment his family stopped playing along, he took it as betrayal. And now, instead of reflecting, he's acting like the world's against him. He's got a wife with a messy reputation running the narrative, and suddenly every disagreement becomes anxiety or oppression. This isn't to dismiss his emotions, but let's be honest. If the biggest issues in your life are a canceled dress and a singer calling your mom beautiful, you're not battling trauma, you're battling ego. Real hardship doesn't come with press exclusives or scripted rants. It's quiet. It happens to people who don't have the privilege to reshape their pain into a PR storyline. Brooklyn and Nicola aren't telling their truth, they're rebranding it. And that's the real takeaway here. This isn't a story about healing or boundaries. It's about two privileged people weaponizing sympathy to stay relevant. Because outrage, not talent, is the only thing keeping their names in the headlines. Well, that pretty much says it all. Let's close this out with a few awkward moments that really sum up the tension between these two families. Watch this clip. Brooklyn awkwardly tries to pull Nicola into frame while David and Victoria are still posing for photos. He looks lost, she looks annoyed, and her whole vibe just screams over it. Victoria doesn't even glance their way, staying cool and composed while David motions the whole family to join in for a group photo. Brooklyn, meanwhile, clearly didn't wait his turn. And it all went down at the London premiere of David's Netflix documentary Beckham back in October 2023. Then there's that 2022 event where Nicola keeps her back to Victoria the entire time, even as Victoria tries several times to engage in conversation. You can see Brooklyn awkwardly trying to ease the tension, placing his hand on Nicola's waist as if to signal her to turn around. But she doesn't. It's painfully clear there's no warmth there. And another clip? It shows Nicola's smile instantly fade into a total stank face the second she turns away from the cameras. You can practically feel the tension through the screen. A Daily Mail source claimed Nicola's father, billionaire Nelson Peltz, has taken a dim view of his British in-laws, reportedly thinking the Beckhams are tacky. Another insider said the Peltz family looks down on Victoria's Spice Girls background, calling the Beckhams new money, while they supposedly see themselves as old-world elites. That snobbery allegedly runs deep, and it explains a lot of the unspoken tension we've seen play out over the years. At the end of the day, both families are insanely wealthy, but it seems like the Peltz side wants to remind everyone they think they're classier. That ego clash might be the real heart of this feud. So, that's the full story. Every messy twist in the Beckham-Peltz drama laid out from start to finish. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you Team Beckham, standing by David and Victoria, or Team Brooklyn and Nicola, defending the couple's independence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe for new deep dives every day, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next scandal breakdown.